Welcome back to Mix It Up Monday, a social media hop where we share projects that mix it up. We're mixing up traditional scrapbooking layouts with some different types of media, such as texture paste, foil, paint, all those fun kinds of things. Today, we are focusing in on this sketch. And this sketch is by Scrabby Harden, and she does have a YouTube channel, and this is going to be a hop. So if you are interested in more content like this, then you can definitely go ahead and check everybody else out who is playing along. So the first thing I notice about this sketch is that it looks like a 6x12 piece of paper behind my photo. But then I notice that there's some stamping in the background. So that's what I'm going to do first, is I'm going to stamp on my background. So I have a newsprint stamp here, and what I noticed on my test page is that it actually looked better when things didn't line up. So to do that, I am taking some Lost Shadow, because it's a very light gray, and I am not putting my stamp on a mounting block, and I am just pressing down. And these are going to be at totally different angles. Because what I was noticing is that when I tried to line up my lines, you know, it just did not work. So I'm going to make sure to kind of cover this whole thing in text, because that's kind of what I want my background to be. Now, I've got a couple different sections of a newspaper here, so I'll be able to start with this part because it's bigger. You want to always start with something bigger if you're trying to cover a space that's pretty large. And then you fill in with the smaller bits. So that's definitely what I'm going to go ahead and do here today. We're just going to stamp, stamp, stamp. Have you guys made your own backgrounds before with stamping? This is a technique I rarely use, but it's fun to get messy sometimes, right? And I don't know that this is really the messiest that you can ever be. There are definitely messier techniques to make a background, but my fingers end up getting gray, definitely by the end of this. And that's okay. Now, I'm using maybe one piece of pattern paper on this sketch. I just thought it would be fun to do a couple different techniques here with my stamps and stencils. A lot of using my brushes, my ink brushes, with my stencils, and that's okay. So it ends up being kind of a flat layout, but definitely mixing it up. I feel like this month, as I'm planning ahead, is going to be a kind of a heavy mixed media month for some reason. I did not plan it that way, but that's just kind of how it's going. This is like one of 3 or 4 layouts this month that are mixed media focused, which is actually kind of fun. Every once in a while, you just gotta change it up so that your juices, creative juices, can keep on flowing. Speaking of creative juices, have you guys ever been in a rut? How did you get out of that rut? I'm still being creative in my craft room every single day, but it used to be solely scrapbooking. Now I'm delving into a little bit different medias. And you'll see a video coming up about what kind of media that I'm working with. It's just kind of fun to change it up every once in a while. Okay, so I got that text pretty much done. Now I'm going to go back in, add some layers here. Make sure that that is facing the right way, not completely upside down. Although I don't know that you're going to be able to tell. Go in with a darker gray and a stencil. Notice on the sketch it looks like a 6x12 piece of paper back there. I'm actually going to use a stencil. Before we continue, we need to talk about the photo that I'm using, because it'll all make sense now. This is the photo I'm using, and so I don't have very much fireman photos, so I am just, or fireman collection kit, so I am just making it up as I go. Isn't he just a cutie? This is so much fun. This is on Christmas too, which is kind of cool. So, you know, fires usually make the news. That's the newsprint. And brick wall. And then I actually have a really cool stencil that is flames. So that is my plan. There's a couple pieces at the top and bottom of the 6x12 inch piece of paper, and so I'm going to put the flames at the bottom of my brick, and I am literally going to go in with a brush and I'm just going to use my hickory smoke and fill the entire thing. Now I will say I'm going to use mint tape to hold this down, because I'm noticing these edges are super thin and I don't want to go really outside that stencil. Now what's great about mint tape is it is not going to damage my paper at all. It's just incredible. I get this from scrapbook.com. I'm assuming that there are other companies that kind of make a post-it like low-tack tape. And that's how I would describe this. This almost feels like a post-it note. That's kind of how low-tack this is. So I'm literally going to go in with my brush, make some circles on here, and we're going to start off the stencil a little bit and then work our way in. And I'm okay with this having some different colors. So for example, it's a lot darker on this side than it is on this side. Every once in a while, you do want to try to make your stencil have the same darkness across the board, but I feel like in this case it's going to add some dimension to it. So I'm okay with this not having the same color throughout. Now, look at how quick that was. And look at how good it turned out. I feel like I could never get that if I was using one of those the brush, or not brushes, but the dome things. What the heck? They always catch on the edge of the stencil. It does not make sense. Let's add some flame to this. So this is an interesting stencil because you get the stencil and then you get the mask. I will say that I am going to use the stencil instead of the mask in this instance, because I do kind of want a hard line when it comes to the edge of the flames. So again, I'm going to mask this off. This edge right here is super thin, and so I will go out the lines. I absolutely know it. Now, I do need an additional thing here. This is just a paper towel that I have so I can brush between colors, because I'm going to be using two different colors and I don't really want to mix my colors because I want my crackling campfire and my fire brick red to stay pure to color. So I'm going to start with the lighter color. And I'm actually just going to brush down. This stencil is so thin and delicate that I don't want to do the circular motion on it. And you can see I'm going pretty far down. On coverage on this. These are considered pigment dyes. And so when you use something like this, the ink is always going to stay at the top, on top. So when I cover this with fire brick, you'll be able to see it on top of this lighter color. So that is what that looks like. And I'm going to actually rotate my paper because I'm going to do flames coming up from the bottom and the top. Now when I take a look at my paper, I think I'm going to have it kind of go like this. And I know there's a harsh line. It is what it is. I really don't want the flame to go all the way across my page. So it's fine. It's not one of those things that's going to really bother me, I don't think. It might, but I'm going to try to let it not bother me. What's kind of cool about this is that because the ink sits on top, you can still see the bricks below. I think that's super cool. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my paper towel and I'm just going to try to rub as much of the ink out as possible. I don't really want to go wash my brush because I would have to then wait till it dries. The Distress Oxides are water reactive, and so you don't want to add any water to the actual pad. So a dry cleaning is really all you can do for this instance. Okay, I think that's good enough for now. They're both red, so I'm not super concerned about color clashing. Now what's great about this stencil is I'm just going to rotate this and place it so that it is the same width. You see how that, it's going to look really cool, I promise. It's going to look so cool. Now I'm going to go in with my fire brick red. I'm just going to do the same thing. Pull down because I don't want to bust my stencil. I was thinking you could probably use sprays with this stencil. However, it might be a little bit blotchy just because of the nature of stenciling, right? And with the nature of sprays, they tend to get everywhere. So I don't know that you would get a good image or good impression. Isn't that cool? So you can really see, I'm using a lot of ink on accident. It's gonna go on the back of the page, it's fine. I think this is gonna look cool. Okay, lining it up again. And I'm going to put it right about there, I think. So I chose two different reds because this Crackling Campfire is more of an orangey red. And so I felt like I didn't actually need to use an orange, if that makes sense. So in my sketch, there's a massive mat on my photo. Now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to double layer it though. So here's my photo. I'm going to grab some white cardstock. And then I'm going to add it on top of the black. I'm going to add black on top. So this is from December 25th. (2022). And I always add the date to my layouts in that fashion. Unless it's like an, you know, childhood memory where I don't have a date stamp. I just find if I know the date is on there, I am good to go. It's the easiest thing to do. Okay. I haven't shown these in a while, but I still use these daily. These are my We Are layer guides. And I'm going to do 1/16 of an inch on the white. Look at how easy that is, especially when you have a new blade on your thing. But there's a ledge here, and all I have to do is like hold this down and butt it up against, like this is not moving. And then I use that straight edge to guide my X-Acto knife. So then I get a perfect mat for my photo every time. And I will say it wastes a little bit of paper because you get the excess and it's not necessarily straight and all the things, but totally worth it to have a perfect mat. That, and it's a lot easier to decide if you had like a pattern paper or something. It's much easier to decide where you want your photo to actually land. And then you can use your layer guides to figure out what you want for the background. Right there. Yeah, that looks like a good width. That's a good width. I will say, if you have trouble, just pull up your photo lip a little bit. I'm kind of having trouble on this one because I'm not used to where it stops, and that's okay. But that solved my issue. 1000%. Oh shoot. I got my thing on crooked. Okay, so 3/8 would be 2/8 would be 1/6, no, 1/4. We're gonna go 1/4 instead of, bummer, I got it on crooked. That's okay, not a big deal. Probably is actually better I just do 1/4 anyway. So I'm actually butting it up against the white paper. So it's a 1/4 outside of the white paper. So now I just get to throw all these scraps away because no, I am not going to use those. I might use this one. I'll give you that. I might use that one, but we'll see. So let's place my photo on top of my crazy mixed media layout. Isn't that fun? I just think it's fun. Okay, we're going to stamp even more, which is kind of crazy. I don't usually stamp this much, but I want to make the sound we make as the title of when he puts this hat on. So I don't have enough E's and O's in my arsenal to be able to stamp the hat. There's just no way. So I definitely want to use black on this. It's going to stand out beautifully. And you know my favorite black. I don't know that you're going to be able to find these stamped images. I'll see what I can do in the stencils and stuff. I'll try to list them as best I can down below. But I'll definitely be able to list the inks. So if you really like this crackling campfire or the fire brick red or the pumice stone, I will be able to hook you up with a link for sure. I'm going to say too bad on the additional pieces on this layout. I've done a lot of work so far, and I don't want to add any more paper, and I don't want to add any more embellishments. I just want to be done with it. So that is what we're going to do. Perfect. Now, look at this, is on textured cardstock, and that's how well that's stamped in black. I mean, that is why it's my favorite. Now I only have one O. So, I'm trying to think. I'm going to put it this way. So I'm going to have to stamp this several times right in a row. So 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to do it going along. Oh, shoot. I'm nervous this black is going to get on my layout, so let me run my photo. Cute. Oh my gosh. Look at that. And that's a completely flat layout, guys. I'm not going to add any stickers, nothing. I might talk about how he likes to put this on my head versus his head. It's super cute. But that is my Mixing It Up Monday layout. So look for close-ups at the end so you can see the journaling. Don't forget to check out everybody else who's playing along and subscribe to this channel. I hope to see you next time.